YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Today we are going to be talking about the controversial Cosmic Fury suits. I mean, ever since they were introduced, they've stirred up quite a bit of debate. As of recently, when they all got revealed, they've stirred up even more debate, and I wanted to talk about it and my kind of more detailed thoughts on the suits and all the controversy surrounding it. The only thing I won't really be addressing is, I think, the needless criticism of they're not Q Ranger. We're not doing traditional Q Ranger. Let's move on. Who cares? But everything else I'm going to kind of be addressing. So, a lot of the criticisms come from, obviously the design of like, oh, it looks too blank, it looks really silly or cheap with the lightning bolt and stuff on it. Just in general that it looks cheap. I mean, there was complaints about that before we saw the physical ones, but I think it was really after we saw the physical live action suit that the complaints about it being cheap looking have come into play even more so. And honestly, there's fair criticisms, absolutely. I think there's definitely fair criticisms about it. I just said that twice. But I also think that, people are being too extreme with it. Like, as with any suit, we go through this all the time when Sentai and Rider happen, when we see the new Rider and the new Sentai, is that it's fine to not like it. No one's gonna like every single suit. Although, to be honest, I don't think there's a single one since I've been following Sentai PR and Rider that I've outright hated, because I can always eventually find the value in it, even if it's my least favorite. But I don't think that everyone's always going to like everything. But this is one of those cases where everyone's going to too far of an extreme, where they're like, ugh, I hate these suits, so therefore all 10 episodes are 0 out of 10. Like, they're already reviewing the show, like as if this will be an indicator. And the thing is, the show could be amazing. They could be wearing paper bags and the show could be amazing. Who knows? So I think that that's the only thing I think is an unfair criticism, is people effectively writing off the show or effectively reviewing the show before it's even out based off the suits. I think that's unfair. But I think there is fair criticisms about the look of them. They're not my favorite. There is a lot I like about them and a lot I like about them conceptually, which I'll get into in a second. But they're not my favorite. I do agree that, like, setting aside the physical suits for a second, it does look a little bit blank in the chest area. I feel like there's a little something missing there. It is weird that they have that kind of, like, hip armor only on one side. I don't know what that's about. Like, part of me looks at it and I'm like, I can kind of see what they're going for, but it would make me feel better if it was even. Maybe it's an OCD thing. That's a little bit strange, I'm not the biggest fan of the PR lightning bolt on there. It doesn't look actually to me as bad in the live action. For me, it actually looked cheaper in the drawings as far as the lightning bolt went, for whatever reason. But I think because it evokes, which I have no problem with, because I liked all the fun, like, non-show Bandai America stuff. But it kind of always evokes that, because I always associate that with that. I mean, to be fair, they would also randomly put the lightning bolt on, like, legit Zords and stuff. But I always associate it with, like, toys I would buy from Bandai that were like, oh, this isn't real, but it's just fun, what if stuff. And so it makes me feel like that, and it's weird to see it make its way into the actual show. And I actually can't think of any of the Bandai America creations that we used for the show, at least off the top of my head, that had stuff like that. Like, because we mainly did the bikes, the Battleizers, stuff like the Trans-Tech armor, but I don't recall any of them having the lightning bolt like that. Maybe one of them did, but at least nothing prominent. Like Strike Rider, Cruise didn't have it. So, I don't know. I definitely agree with that. I'm not a biggest fan of the lightning bolt. I wish there could have been something different, or like a version of the lightning bolt that didn't look like it was the Bandai America toy lightning bolt. Again, I agree about the blankness a little bit there. As far as the physical suits, I agree. Even though there is stuff I like about them, and I feel like I'm more of a defender than most, they did look pretty cheap in that first look, like at least comparison to other stuff. I've watched the video a couple times, just to sort of see my feeling on the suits, and sometimes they look okay in certain shots, other times they do look cheaper than your average suit, which is weird because I feel it skirts this weird line of, like, I fall on both sides of the argument. Like, on one hand, I don't necessarily care if I like the designs or even if it looks a little bit cheaper so long as the show is good, and also there's that argument which I find funny where I feel other fans are kind of skirting this weird line of contradicting themselves, where they will use something feeling cheap like this as something really derogatory, but then talk about how Toku's cheap aesthetic is its charm. So it's like, you can't have it best of both worlds. It's not Hannah Montana. I feel like it does look a little bit cheaper than I was expecting. However, there was like this photo with Ion that I don't remember if Jordan posted it, but somebody posted it. I saw it, of him with just the helmet. And in that lighting, it looks a little bit better. So I do think that to a degree they look a little bit cheaper than some suits we see, but I think lighting and everything is going to have a lot to do with it. Like, I don't think when we see them in the show, it's going to be like all of a sudden they look amazing. but I think that they're going to look a little bit better the more we get used to seeing them in motion and in different lighting, and I don't think it's as bad as we're thinking, but I can understand because it does look a little bit cheaper than we're used to. And again, talking about sitting on both sides of the fence, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, it looks a little cheaper, but I don't care as long as the story's good. But at the same time, it also goes against my argument about the way I want the reboot suits to look more armored and cool and more like superheroes, because I think the Toku aesthetic is kind of embarrassing, especially for like if you're doing like this is a Netflix original series and you come out with something like this that's not in the kids category, for the reboot, they're obviously targeting a wider audience. If these were the suits for the reboot, I'm like, that's kind of embarrassing, and that kind of goes against the argument of why I want to move away from some of the Toku aesthetic, because I think it clashes with the idea of like a big Netflix reboot. So I don't know, I feel like I'm on both sides of the fence on that, but this is not meant to be for a big reboot. It's meant to be for this, the kids show and whatnot. But setting aside the cheapness, and again, I do have some complaints about the designs, there's a lot I do like about them, honestly. Personally, I always just like to see original suits. Like, the further we pull away from Sentai, the more excited I get. I always have an affection for something that's original, even if the design isn't my favorite. So I like them inherently a little bit because of that. And also because it's kind of exciting to have something unexpected. Like, both when they were first revealed and when we got the most recent reveal where we saw two new Rangers, not new Rangers, but you know what I mean, like the color swaps, which was unexpected. It triggered this excitement I haven't had in a really long time for PR, because once you know about Sentai and follow Sentai to any degree, you don't get that excitement very often of new Power Ranger stuff, because you always know it's coming. Like, okay, yeah, the 6th Ranger's going to show up, their evil Purple Ranger, this Zord, that Zord, this weapon. You kind of, before PR starts, have a checklist of everything's going to debut. And this was the first time in a long time. That's why I like the Spirit Rangers so much, because that was the first year I followed Sentai, and I was like, okay, well now I know it's coming, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't see these Rangers coming. So that's what I like about them there. But there is stuff I like about the designs. I do kind of dig the armor plating and the way it looks. It kind of feels very reminiscent of like Green Rangers and stuff like that. I like the cape on Zeto's. I think that's really cool. Black Ranger's robot arm looks cool. I wish they kind of all had something like that. I think it fleshes it out a little bit more, but that looks really cool. I really dig the weapons. Like, I'm not a fan of the lightning bolt on them, but for the most part, I dig the weapons. Like, especially Black's axe looks really sick, and Red's hammer looks really cool too. Like, I really do dig the weapons. Like, they also look like classic PR original weapons, but I dig them a lot. As far as the newest suits, I really dig Red Ranger Amelia's. Like, it's the same, but the red color looks good on it. And you have like that little extra gold extension there, and it makes it stand out a little bit. And the Champagne Ranger, the Zenith Ranger, is interesting. I wish it was white, because I think it would look cooler. White Ranger suits are kind of my favorite, and it would kind of extend off the way we saw him at the end of Dino Fury, and I think it would create some cool homages and parallels of like the White Ranger, Red Ranger stuff from mmpr for an anniversary season. But I also do kind of appreciate that it's a different color we haven't really seen before in PR or Sentai, even if it is a little bit strange. But I do kind of appreciate it in a way. Like, I'm kind of mixed, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate seeing kind of two new Rangers there with that. And I have to say, though, even though I think it would look better with a white helmet, and it did look a little cheaper also, I did kind of dig the principles of Zeto's end of Dino Fury suit. I have seen a Photoshop where someone took like the Dino Fury drill and put on the Cosmic Fury suits, and it actually does look quite a bit better. So maybe they could have included that, I don't know. But there is lots of stuff that I like about the aesthetics with that, and I just like having this original feel that's just totally out of left field. I honestly never expected them to do this. On the table, what you'd expect is like, oh, maybe we're going to do this Sentai or that Sentai, or are we going to go totally original? And this isn't either or. It's kind of this weird in-between thing. So there is stuff I like about him. There is quite a few things I like about him. I like having the originals. I like certain aspects. But I do agree with some of the criticisms, and they're overall not my favorite. Honestly, I think that they're from the neck down, which is basically everything that's not Ryu Soldier. There's like, I like some of its parts, but not the sum of its parts. Like, I feel like I always sound like I just love them, but I just like them fine. There's a lot I like about them. I like the originality, but I agree with the criticisms. I just think people are taking them too far. Again, I just wait and see. Let's wait and see the show. First of all, I guess everyone's going to value different things. If the suit's really going to make that much difference to you and you don't want to watch, it's your life. But I would say let's just wait and see how it feels after we see them in action more and how the story is. To sort of write the show off based off of this one thing seems silly. And I think for me, there's more to like and to be excited about that was unexpected than there is to hate. But that's just my thoughts. What do you guys think of the suits now that you've had maybe a little more time to digest them? Are you going to give it a shot, or are you going to write the entire show off for this purpose, or because of these suits? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. See you in notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.